All right, so you're here because you like to, get right to the heart of things and understand new ideas, especially when they could be like really disruptive.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Or
everybody wants to be, on the cutting edge,
yeah.
and I think we try to do that here too by bringing in new ideas that might really shake things up.
Yeah. And today I think we've got one that could really be a game changer, this platform called Cinemania. And I think it's going to be really interesting to like dig into it.
For sure, it's really fascinating. It's basically a new platform that is trying to change the way that independent film and television projects get funded, and also how like you and me fans interact with those projects.
Okay, cool. So we've got a bunch of their like source material, right?
Mhm.
We've got their about us and their how it works for fans and producers.
Yeah, and even their live projects page, and even their terms and conditions.
Yeah, so a pretty deep dive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's get into it. So like right off the bat, they talk about funding independent film and TV development,
Wow.
but it's like they want to be more than just like a bank, right? They're calling themselves a content incubator and accelerator.
Yeah.
So what does that actually like practically mean?
It's not just like giving money and then stepping back. They actually want to be involved in the whole process of creating content,
Okay.
and they want to like support filmmakers and TV producers throughout the whole like life cycle of a project.
Okay, so from like idea to like distribution.
Yeah, exactly. From
Yeah.
like the spark of an idea to actually getting it out there to audiences.
Okay, got it. And a big part of this that they emphasize is this idea of a decentralized social network.
Mm.
It's not just filmmakers pitching ideas into the void, right?
Yeah.
It's like building these connections.
Yeah.
So what is it about this decentralized approach that's different from just like your typical online community?
Well, I mean, with a decentralized network, you don't have just like one company or one entity calling all the shots.
Yeah.
Much more distributed. So in the context of Cinemania, this means that, filmmakers and fans would potentially have like a more direct say in like how the platform is run and how projects are chosen and developed.
Okay, so more like power to the people, so to speak.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
yeah.
More power to the creators and the fans, and also they talk about, monetizing and tokenizing independent content, which is really interesting.
Yeah, okay, so this is where like the financial technology comes in,
Yeah.
right? It's not just relying on like grants or investments.
Yeah, exactly. They're looking at using emerging financial technologies like blockchain
Okay.
to basically create new ways for people to invest in and profit from independent film and TV.
Okay, so when they say tokenize, it means they're creating like digital assets or something like that.
Yeah, they're basically like creating digital tokens that represent some kind of ownership or rights within a film project.
Okay, got it. So it's like a whole new way of thinking about investment in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, it's potentially very disruptive, and they also mentioned having a portfolio of like iconic properties with global appeal.
Okay, that's a bold statement.
And
They say this content transcends cultural boundaries and aims to entertain, inform, educate, and inspire.
that's a lot to live up to.
It is.
Yeah.
So how do they plan to like pull all of this off?
Well, they have like these 4 key pillars for their ecosystem,
Okay.
and they're all about like really supporting the creative process. So
Mm,
first one is fostering creativity amongst filmmakers from all over the world.
okay.
Second is cultivating talent through education and providing opportunities for collaboration.
Yep.
The third pillar is developing that end-to-end system that we talked about before, like really using technology to streamline the whole process of creating and distributing content.
Okay.
And then the fourth one is super important, and that's connecting film fans directly with the world of cinema.
Okay, so it's a pretty comprehensive approach. It sounds like they're really trying to create a whole ecosystem that supports both the creators and the fans.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they really emphasize this idea of the democratization, decentralization, and monetization of content.
Okay, so what does that mean in practical terms?
Well, it means that they want to give more control to the creators and the fans, and they want to use technology to make the whole process more open and accessible.
Okay, so it's not just about like the big studios calling all the shots anymore.
Exactly.
Okay, so how does this actually work for the fans then?
Well, let's say you're like a film enthusiast and you want to get involved with Cinemania.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing you do is register on the platform, create an account.
Okay.
Pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, it sounds pretty straightforward so far.
Yeah, and then you can start exploring all the different projects that are listed on the platform.
Okay, and so this is where the access passes come in?
Exactly.
Mhm.
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay, so what are the different types of access passes and what do they offer?
Okay, so there are four main types. The first one is called collectible,
Okay.
and these are like unique digital items that you can buy.
So it's like owning a piece of digital memorabilia or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
imagine owning a rare digital poster or like behind the scenes artwork from a film.
Okay, cool. So that's the collectible pass. What's the next one?
The next one is the immersive pass,
Okay.
and this is where you can get really close to the action.
Like how?
Well, these passes give you real world experiences. Like you might get to visit a film set or attend a red carpet premiere
Wow.
or even appear as an extra in a movie.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a way for fans to actually become a part of the filmmaking process.
Wow. So it's not just about passively watching a movie anymore.
Exactly. You're actually getting involved in the making of it.
Okay, so that's the immersive pass. What about the other two?
Okay, the third one is called the royalty pass.
Okay, and what does that one do?
This one is really interesting because it allows fans to potentially share in the financial success of the projects that they support.
So if a movie makes money, the fans who bought royalty passes would get a cut.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a whole new way of thinking about how fans can support and benefit from independent film.
Wow, that's a pretty revolutionary idea.
It is. But of course, there would need to be like really clear and transparent mechanisms for, revenue sharing and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are some like legal hurdles to jump through,
For sure.
but it's a really interesting concept.
Yeah, definitely. And so what's the last type of access pass?
The last one is called the social pass.
Okay, and what's special about that one?
Well, this pass allows you to support projects that are aligned with a particular social cause.
Oh, okay. So it's like combining your love of film with your desire to make a difference in the world.
Exactly. You can support films that are raising awareness about important issues or films that are benefiting a specific nonprofit organization. Okay, so it's like a way to use your entertainment dollars to do some good in the world.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And Cinemania really wants to emphasize that you can be a part of film.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about watching it anymore. You can actually be involved in the whole process.
Okay, so it seems like these access passes are a pretty big part of what makes Cinemania unique.
For sure. It's a really innovative way to engage fans and give them a much deeper connection to the films and TV shows that they love.
Okay, so we've talked about how the fans interact with the platform. Now let's switch gears and talk about the producers,
Yeah.
filmmakers who are actually trying to get their projects made.
Sure. So Cinemania is designed to help producers accelerate the development and realization of their projects.
Okay.
And they do this by connecting producers directly with this engaged community of fans that we were just talking about.
Okay, so how does a producer get started on the platform?
Well, the first steps are basically the same as for the fans, register, create a profile,
Okay.
but then they need to upgrade their account.
And what does that involve?
Well, it involves completing required compliance checks.
So they have to verify their identity and prove that their project is legitimate.
Yeah, exactly. They have
Yeah.
to basically go through a vetting process to make sure that everything is above board.
Okay. That makes sense. You don't want people scamming each other.
Right, exactly. It's all about building trust and transparency.
Okay. So once a producer's account is upgraded, what can they do?
Well, once they're verified, they can list their project on Cinemania.
Okay.
And that means providing all the details about their film or TV show and, explaining how they plan to engage with the community.
Okay. And they can also offer these access passes that we were just talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly. They can offer all four types of passes.
Okay. And so what are some of the benefits that Cinemania highlights for producers?
Well, first of all, listing a project on Cinemania is free.
Okay.
So that's a big plus for independent filmmakers who are often strapped for cash.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Second, it gives producers a direct channel to connect with fans and other creatives so they can build a community around their project.
Right.
And third, they can use the access passes to generate early interest and build a fan base.
And potentially even get some funding.
Exactly.
And Cinemania also mentioned something about helping producers secure access to development finance.
Yeah, that's a key part of their mission. They
Yeah.
want to help filmmakers get the funding they need to actually make their projects.
Okay, so it sounds like they're trying to create this whole alternative funding model that's more democratic and more accessible.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big departure from the traditional way of doing things.
Okay, so now let's talk about the people behind Cinemania. Who are the folks who are making all this happen?
Well, they have a pretty impressive team.
Okay.
So the CEO and co-founder is Elizabeth Turner Fox,
Okay.
and she has a lot of experience in international co-productions, particularly between Asia and Western companies.
Okay, so she's got that global perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's really important for a platform that's trying to connect filmmakers and fans from all over the world.
Right. And what about her experience in China? Does that play a role?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, China's a huge market for entertainment.
Yeah.
So her experience there could be really valuable in helping filmmakers reach a wider audience.
Okay, got it. And who else is on the team?
Well, the COO and co-founder is Asif Bashir,
Okay.
and he's got a background in both IT and content creation.
Okay, so he's got like the technical chops and the creative
Yeah,
vision.
exactly. And that's a pretty powerful combination.
Right. And then there's Dr. Yufu Cheng, who heads up brand partnerships.
Yeah, she's got amazing connections across Hollywood, the music industry, and Asia.
Okay.
And she's particularly well connected with celebrity brands.
Oh, wow. So she could really help raise the profile of the projects on Cinemania.
Yeah, exactly. She could help connect filmmakers with big names and really boost their visibility.
Okay, got it. And who's handling the finances?
Well, the CFO is John Curson,
Okay.
and he's a seasoned business executive with a lot of experience in Silicon Valley.
Okay, so he knows how to take a company from startup to success.
Yeah, exactly. He's got the financial expertise to make sure that Cinemania is built on a solid foundation.
Okay. And what about the community aspect of the platform?
Well, they have Dan Thorens as their head of community for filmmakers,
Okay.
and he's got a lot of experience in the film industry. He's worked
Yeah.
with some really big directors.
Okay, so he knows the ins and outs of the filmmaking world.
Yeah, exactly. And he's passionate about connecting filmmakers and helping them succeed.
Okay, got it. And it looks like they're also expanding internationally.
Yeah, they have a hub in Dubai,
Okay.
and Tel Bashim is heading up operations there.
Okay, so they're really serious about making Cinemania a global platform.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They want to connect filmmakers and fans from all over the world.
Okay. And what about their corporate communications?
Well, Rich Fox is heading up that department,
Okay.
and he's got a strong background in fundraising and marketing.
Okay. So he'll be the one telling the world about Cinemania.
Yeah, exactly. He'll be responsible for getting the word out and attracting both creators and fans to the platform.
Okay, got it. So it sounds like they've assembled a really strong team with a wide range of expertise.
Yeah, they've definitely got the right people in place to make this vision a reality.
And they've also got a board of advisors, right?
Yeah, they do. And they've got some really big names on there.
Okay, like who?
Well, one of them is Yuan Wong,
Okay.
and he's an expert in business strategy and blockchain technology.
Okay, so he's the one who's going to help them with the whole tokenizing thing.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to make sure that they're doing it right.
Okay, and who else is on the board?
Well, they've also got Ely Beckman,
Okay.
and he's a technology leader with experience in AI software, film, and blockchain.
Okay, so he's got a pretty diverse skill set.
Yeah, he does. And he's really focused on global distribution, which is obviously a key part of Cinemania's mission.
Right. And I see they've also got someone from the creative side of things.
Yeah, they do. They've got Bront Palleray on the board.
Okay, and who is that?
Well, he's an award-winning actor, director, screenwriter, and producer.
Oh.
And he's really well known in Southeast Asia.
Okay, so he brings that regional expertise to the table.
Yeah, exactly. And he can help Cinemania attract talent and projects from that part of the world.
Okay, got it. And who's the last advisor?
The last advisor is Lindsay Rose,
Okay.
and she's got a background in both acting and producing.
Okay.
And she's even led TV networks in the past.
Wow. Okay, so she knows the industry inside and out.
Yeah, exactly. And she's also involved in a lot of different film festivals and other ventures.
Okay, so she's got a lot of connections.
Yeah, she does. She's a real powerhouse.
Okay, so it sounds like Cinemania has really assembled a top-notch team of advisors.
Yeah, they've got a lot of experience and expertise to draw on.
Okay, so now let's talk about the platform itself. It
Okay.
looks like they have some live projects already.
Yeah, they do. They've actually moved beyond the conceptual stage, and they've got some real projects that are in development.
Okay, so it's not just a pipe dream.
No, it's actually happening.
And what kind of projects are they working on?
Well, they've got a mix of different genres and styles. They've got documentaries, feature films, TV shows,
Okay.
and they're all from independent filmmakers.
Okay, so it sounds like they're really committed to supporting independent voices.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's their main focus.
And they've also had some launch events, right?
Yeah, they have. They had a bunch of exclusive launch parties back in October.
Okay, and where were those held?
Well, they were held all over the world. In
Uh-huh.
Dubai, Birmingham, London, Kuala Lumpur.
Okay, so they're really trying to build a global presence.
Yeah, exactly. They want to reach filmmakers and fans from all corners of the globe.
Okay, and they've also had some online events too, right?
Yeah, they've had these Ask Me Anything sessions online,
Okay.
and they've been using a variety of platforms like Zoom and Microsoft Teams.
Okay, so they're really trying to connect with people wherever they are.
Yeah, exactly. They're
Uh,
using all the tools at their disposal to build a community.
Okay, so it sounds like they're off to a pretty good start.
Yeah, they are. They're definitely making some noise.
Hmm. Okay, so now let's talk about the legal stuff. We've got their terms and conditions here.
Yeah. Okay, so as you know, these legal documents are super important. They basically lay out the ground rules for using the platform.
Okay.
So they're saying that these terms govern your use of the Cinemania website.
Okay, so it's like the user agreement that you see on every website.
Yeah, exactly.
And what about intellectual property?
Well, they make it clear that all intellectual property rights are reserved.
So you can't just take content from the platform and use it for your own purposes.
No, you can't. You have to get permission from them first.
Okay. So it's basically the same as any other platform in that regard.
Yeah, pretty much.
And are there any other restrictions on how users can interact with the site?
Yeah, there are a few. So they don't want you publishing the website material in other media
Okay.
or selling it or using it for advertising.
Okay, so they're trying to protect the integrity of the platform.
Yeah, exactly.
And what about the information that they provide on the website?
Well, they have a disclaimer saying that it's for general informational purposes only.
Okay, so it's not professional advice.
No, it's not.
And what about keeping the information up to date?
Well, they say that the website is updated regularly, but that some information may become outdated.
Okay, so they're not guaranteeing that everything is going to be accurate all the time.
Right.
And what about their liability?
But they have disclaimers about that too.
Okay.
They're basically saying that they're not liable for any losses or damages that might arise from using their website.
Okay, so it's the standard legal stuff that you see on most platforms.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about Cinemania's mission, their team, their platform, their legal framework. It's a pretty ambitious undertaking.
It is. Yeah, they're really trying to shake things up.
And it sounds like they have the potential to really make a difference in the independent film and TV world.
Yeah, I think so too. They're giving filmmakers more control, they're giving fans more access,
Yeah.
and they're creating new ways for people to invest in and profit from independent content.
And they're doing it all on a global scale.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a pretty exciting development.
It is, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, me too. So for all of you listening out there, what do you think about Cinemania? Do you think it has the potential to change the entertainment industry?
Yeah, leave us a comment, let us know.
And think about this. How might a platform like this impact your own involvement in film and TV? Whether you're a filmmaker, a fan, or an investor.
Yeah, how could you see yourself participating in this new ecosystem?
It's definitely something to think about.
It is.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.